You have proved that you fight well. Now you can join us.
Keep cut sequence.
Wake up, check your phone, ignore the alarm, you're still alone. Wake up, rewind the night. Who are you? But also kind of who am I? Wake up, check your phone, pre-party for the apocalypse, don't forget to RSVP. Think about how the polar bears are running out of ice. But hey, this photo got a lot of likes. Get down, but don't feel down. This is why we can't have nice things, like a clean car.
Hello ladies and, well, actually just ladies according to my analytics.
What?
Now,
Look at me.
I know you. No, I do. I'm not in a like
Tell me your mother's maiden name in the last 4 digits of your account number
kind of way, but you clicked on this video and you want to make some cute Instagram fits kind of way, because that's me. I want to do that too. You see all these cute fits on Instagram and TikTok and you're like, I want those things. So you go on the boutique's website and you see that the things are either insanely expensive or even worse, there's some like morally dubious stuff going on in the factories. But no fear, your fairy godmother is going to show you how to make these cute little fits. But no one cares about this intro, so let's go.
In the bathroom of a club.
Okay, so our first project is a little bucket hat from the So Essentials Club, which I have cut out already here. But I didn't scale it, and I'm hoping that's fine. Like, it looks like it's gonna fit. Looks like it'll be cute. And I'm gonna make it out of this pink faux fur. I actually bought this for a different project, which is going to be in my DIYs number 2 video, and that's going to be a little House of Sunny cardigan set with the furry collar. But I bought a metre of it and I don't need a whole metre, so I'm going to use this for the bucket hat and then do a different coloured lining. Let's get making that. This fur is shedding everywhere. Oh my god. Okay, so according to Robin Hood, I've got stock options. Lol, I have no idea what that means, but I can assure you that I definitely don't. This is the stock. And these are the options. Utterly hilarious. But I think I'm gonna go for this strawberry one as the lining because it's really cute. Like, imagine the pink fur with then the strawberries in the inside. Okay, so once you've decided on your fabric, it's time to cut out the pieces. This is a reversible design, but at the beginning I was thinking I just wanted the fur side showing. So you can either do the inner layer as lining, or, like I did, pick a pretty fabric that you would like to show as the reverse. As I mentioned before, the pattern is free and you can download it, and I will be leaving the link to the Essentials Club video below, which is the people who made it. You need to cut out 2 of every piece except the circle top piece, which you'll only need 1 of. And as you can see, this fur was a total nightmare to work with. I had to literally hoover after I'd cut out every single piece because there was fur just floating everywhere and I couldn't stop sneezing. It was kind of horrendous, but the results are worth it.
When I wake up in the middle of the night and I feel wide awake.
Then you need to decide which layer you'll be working on first. I chose the fur layer because it's way more fun than boring old cotton. And you'll need to sew along the 2 edges right sides facing one another. Then find the shorter length of the whole entire sort of section and begin pinning that again right sides together to the circular piece. I did mine with a 1 cm seam allowance, but I also cut out the larger size of the pattern because, like, I've got to accommodate this bulging forehead somehow. Fun fact, when I was a kid, my best friend in primary school was like pretty well off, and I once went to her house and had a ride on her pony, but I didn't have one of those hard hats and my head was so huge even at the age of 8 that I could fit into her mum's helmet, so that's saying something. But so I made, I got off the point. I made the biggest size of this hat and then it was too big. I ended up kind of looking like Mr. Toad from Mario Kart, which, may I add, is not necessarily a bad thing. He's kind of cute, you know. Once you've pinned around the entire outside like I'm showing you here, then you can sew round that too. Oh my god, there's fur everywhere. I keep thinking I'm gonna need to sneeze, but this is it so far. It's like a little gigantic hat and it's quite cute like this, honestly. Someone please tell her. After that, you take the 2 brim pieces and do the exact same step with those, sewing down at each end right sides together. Then take the brim pieces and sew those right sides together to the headband sections, matching at the side seams.
Hey ho, walking in the night.
Once you've completed both layers, put one layer inside the other, wrong sides facing, and pin at any convenient seams. If you want your hat to have a frayed edge look, you can just sew around the brim to secure the 2 layers, but that wasn't really going to work with fur, so I overlocked the edge of mine and then headed to the garden to fold that overlocked edge under and hand sew it down. And then it was done. This one's actually quite a quick project once you've got the hang of what pieces need to go where, but I really enjoyed it and I actually made another one, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, you'll see. So I actually really like the hat this way round, little strawberry shortcake kitchen, serving strawberry shortcake realness. Alright, Del Boy. But I'm not sure if I'm cool enough, honestly, to pull off this look. Or not. Okay, next one. What do you think of my hat? What do you think of my hat? What do you think? What do you think of my hat? I really need to know. Do you think I can pull this off? Are you out of your cool now?
Yeah.
Do you like my hat?
You look like a marshmallow.
Oh! After getting everyone's raving reviews, I was feeling confident enough to take Nancy on a walk. So off we went, and it was so springy. I'm just so excited for all the flowers to start coming out, honestly. And I also ended up making another one of these bucket hats. This time I did the smaller size and it ended up slightly too small. So, you know, I just can't win. But I did this in a pink boucle, which matched this kind of Chanel inspired jacket that I'd already made. And it was cute. And now on to the next DIY, which is a denim corset style exposed seam top. When you're just trying to get on with your life and you realise you graduated into the worst recession ever. I've just had the most amazing idea. Let me put you down. You're on top of a cactus, so I hope you're not gonna fall off. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a corset kind of top out of this skirt here, leaving this buttons as the front closure because I think that would be super cute. This top is from Sainsbury's and my mum got it for me a while ago, but I have worn it I think once. So we're going to work from the bodice block, the basic bodice block. I'm going to leave the links to some tutorials below of how to do a basic bodice block, but that is just basically your measurements put into a top form so that everything that you make is going to fit you perfectly, and so that you don't have to work from a bolt pattern every single time. You just need a basic 2 dart bodice, and then I'm going to show you how to do the princess seams and the rest of it. So I just clicked my hair. Right, so this is what my block looks like, but mine is for a bodice, sleeve and skirt, so don't worry, it's not difficult to make at all. Mine just looks really complicated. So the first thing you need to do is trace around your block onto a different piece of paper, as you want to keep the block itself intact for any future projects. The front bodice should have 2 darts, one at the waist and one at either the shoulder or the bust, and the back should have one at the waist, and then mine also has a tiny shoulder dart. The first thing you'll need to do is decide where you want your princess seams to run from. So I went from about the middle of the arm on both the front and the back, and then on the front piece I used my French curve to draw from that mark point through the centre of the dart, making sure to get the apex, which is the fullest point of the bust. Then mark the middle of the side seam and draw a line from this point to the apex and begin cutting out the shoulder dart. We are going to be changing the dart position from the shoulder to the bust using the slash and spread method. Then cut up that line you made on the side seam and pivot the paper to close at the shoulder seam and tape that up. Then cut down from the princess seam at the arm and pivot the bust dart into the princess seam itself by closing the bust dart and taping it down. You can then cut up the waist dart lines and mark on little notches at the point where the apex would be, so that when you're sewing you know where the pattern pieces should join. Then you can decide how low or not low your neck should be. I played around a lot with this, but I wouldn't put it too low, as otherwise you may have some gaping, which requires further adjustment to the pattern. Then cut round and that's the front done. For the back it's basically the same. Use the French curve ruler to shape the princess seam, going from your mark through the dart, but you'll also want to remove the shoulder dart, so connect the shoulder dart to the princess seam line. Cut out the waist dart as we don't need that now, and then to close the shoulder dart, cut down your new lines which attach to the princess and then tape the lines closed. Then to make sure that the neckline on the front matches the shoulder and the back, hold your front bodice up to the back one at the shoulders and mark where they meet. Then draw in where you want the back neckline bit to be. Cut around all of the pieces and then by golly they're done, and you can start cutting out your actual fabric. Now I prefer to add the seam allowance to the fabric as I'm cutting, but you can add it directly to your pattern as well if you find that easier. Also, I hope I explained that whole process clearly, but I'm going to leave loads of links to other people's videos I found helpful when drafting this, and also just more about pattern drafting in general, because I think it's quite interesting. In the description box, that's where I'm going to leave them. I'm not just gonna, yeah, okay, you get it. So I've realised placing this down that I don't actually have enough fabric. So I'm bringing in some of this blue corduroy, which I'm gonna make the opposite panels in. So you'll need to cut out 2 of every pattern piece, or if you don't want a seam down the fabric at the back, you can cut the back piece on the fold. And then if you want the panels to be contrasting, like I am with the corduroy, cut the side front and side back pieces in the opposite fabric colour. Also, I obviously have that button closure, which I cut the centre front pieces to include, but if you want more of a corsety feel, you can add eyelets at the centre back or front. Put some jewellery on because I'm wearing some labels. So the thing about princess seams is that they look very pretty when they're done, but when you're sewing it, it's kind of hell because the seams are very curved. So I've just done up the front section so you can see how it's going to look, but see this extremely curved section here? When you sew that, that's going to be difficult, so we have to do something called ease, which I'm now going to explain. So I'm going to demonstrate with the front and side front pieces. So take the pattern off. And remember that we're going right sides together unless you wanted to do a sort of exposed seam look, which is fine as well. So we're gonna take this pattern piece and match it to the notches. So this is smooth up until here. So pin that down, matching at the notch. But then when we get to this section, there's going to be this side of the fabric that is really gaping more and doesn't fit in here. So what we do is we align this corner like this so that it's smooth across here. And then you want to take around the middle section of the gapiness and pin that down so that there's sort of equal gaping this side and this side. And then you want to pin it around the 1.5 centimetre mark so that it's not right to the edge and it's not all the way over here. Then, see, I've got a bit too much in this section compared to here, so I'm going to just readjust that, take it down a little bit. You're basically just wanting to manipulate the fabric each time so that it will fit in, and this takes a while.
Let me spit my game. You know that this room got me moving this way.
Okay, I've done the two front bits. I've pinned this side and then I've pinned this side too. I don't know why this one went on a bit more smoothly, but you can see kind of what it's going to look like when it's actually sewed together. Now I'm going to move on to the back bit. And finally it's onto the sewing part, which should now be a lot easier because you've pinned your top a lot. You'll need to sew the front two pieces to the two side front pieces, and then the side front pieces to the side back pieces, and then the side back pieces to the back pieces. Who would have thought, huh? Then sew down at the shoulder points too, again at 1.5 centimetres. Guys, I've just tried it on and it's actually cute. Obviously it's not finished, and also I don't know why, but the seams are too far in. They should be like on the edge of my boob / going through the middle of it, but they're kind of too far in, and I think that's because of this here. It's made it stretch weird, but I still like it, and the back's like that, but you can't really see. So I wanted this top to have an exposed seam kind of patchwork feel, so to finish off the edges I just overlocked them all in some white thread. But if you don't have an overlocker, I would probably use some bias binding to finish them, or you can use a zigzag stitch, but probs make a sample of this first so you can test it out.
Baby, that's alright. Let me spit my game. You know that this room got me moving this way.
So our next DIY is an exposed seam overlock little turtleneck, except I made it without the turtleneck, sorry. But my fabric hasn't arrived, so we can't really start it yet. So I was thinking I might do a little painting in the meantime because on my last video that I uploaded, a girl called Pizzati, is her YouTube name, commented on my video, and then I was like, oh, that's really nice of her, so I checked her channel out, and her stuff is so cute. She has like a little Etsy shop and she does arty videos, and I ended up watching like 5 of her videos, and then I was inspired to do some art. So this is why I'm doing this Monet little inspired painting. So thank you, Pizzati. Defo go watch her channel, she's really cute and aesthetic. As I was painting this, I also realised that you can buy this medium that you mix with acrylic paint, and then you can paint on your fabric and it basically turns it into fabric paint. So now that's given me some more ideas, so let me know if you would like to see anything like that, like painting on fabric, or basically what ideas and videos you want me to do in the future. More historical, more costumey, more everyday, I don't know, let me know, you know. And then once I'd done, it looked like this. No, I'm kidding, it looked like this. Which you will have already seen if you follow my Instagram at styling_the centuries. Go follow me.
Later, in the void.
Oh my god, my fabric's finally here. Let's get it. Thank you. I look like the Poundland version of like Sophia Richie doing her Vogue makeup. We're gonna open it, but first we gotta disinfect it. Does anyone else do this, or am I just crazy? Oh my god! Oh my god. Okay, these are so soft. I got this pink floral and this stripy rainbow one, which, oh my gosh, I love this one. This is so much more vibrant in real life than it looked on the shop. Once you have your fabric, I always think it's good to pre-wash the fabric in case it shrinks after you've made it, and then your top is going to be basically unwearable. Now we've got our fabric and it's washed and it's been taken out and it's dried. I'm going to cut out my pattern, which is here. This is the Eva top, just so you know, and I'm going to have it linked in the description box, of course. So let's cut this out. Now this pattern is one of those PDF ones where you print it out on A4 pieces and then glue them together, which is what I'm doing here. And I did a size medium and then cut around all the pattern shapes before pinning them onto and cutting out my fabric. Take the lower front middle panel and lay it wrong sides facing up, and then take the side panels and pin these wrong sides facing the middle panel along the sides. This was a bit of a brain kerfuddle because I'm so used to sewing things right sides together, as you normally should, but for the seams to show, we obviously need to make them the wrong sides together so that they'll actually show. Then overlock down those pinned parts. I did mine in a blue for a contrast, and then take the upper panel and again pin this wrong sides together to the bottom bit you just sewed. Because this is such a curved part, you need to baste these layers together before overlocking, as the overlock is not very forgiving, so it needs to be perfect first time around. By the way, the pattern maker herself, Cool Stitches, has made a video on exactly how to make this top with the turtleneck as it should be, but I didn't want a turtleneck, so definitely check out her video for more instructions. Then carefully overlock around to the bit you just basted down before pinning and overlocking together the front and back pieces at the shoulder. I also overlocked around the neck to tie in that raw seam look, and then it was time for the sleeves, which are actually quite easy. Just pin together the sleeves and the bodice matching the notches, which you should have marked at the cutting out stage, and then pin down the rest of the arm. Then you can overlock around the sleeve head, but this is where it all went wrong for me, as my overlock was making some super dodgy noises and then the needle broke, so that put an abrupt end to my sewing on the overlocker. So then I had to do the rest of the project on my normal machine, which meant that I couldn't have the exposed seams, but you know, sewing throws problems at you, you have to overcome them. Like Spider-Man, you just have to keep getting up, okay? Once you've sewn the sleeves in, you can sew up the side seams of the top and down the length of the arm, which I did right size together, as now I was on the normal sewing machine, which didn't mess up the project, but I would have preferred if the overlocker hadn't have broken. Shock. Then it was the next day, and as well as finding I had berry coloured nails, I had found new inspiration for my top, and I decided to use my mum's overlocker, which at the time had baby pink threads in it, to finish off the cuffs and hem on my project. I thought it would look nice to have a slight contrast in the overlocker thread colour, and I think it worked. What do you guys think? Maybe don't give your honest answer. So today we're going to make the oversized kind of Lady Diana collars, or 60s or 70s. It's kind of a mix of all different styles, but they're like the Peter Pan collars, the really big ones with the little ruffles on the edge. And we're going to make a pattern, but it's easy, I promise. To make the pattern for the collar, take any bodice pattern with a neckline that you like. I used this princess seam bodice from a 1960s style dress I made, which you may have seen on my Insta, as I liked how the neckline was, not too high and not too low. Then hold the shoulder pieces of the pattern next to each other and pivot that outer edge of the shoulder 2 centimeters so that they're overlapping. Hopefully you can see how I'm doing this even if my explanation isn't fantastic. Tape this down so it's steady, and then take another piece of paper and trace around the neckline, marking where the centre front is and the centre back. You'll be cutting the centre back on the fold, so make sure that you mark that in and then use a curve ruler to mark out the Peter Pan shape at the front of the collar. How you want to do this is totally up to you. You can have it more rounded, more pointed like a 70s style, even spiky like the Kroon Viron. Also work out the width of the collar and mark in the seam allowance. I did mine 8 centimeters with a 1.5 seam allowance. After that, you can decide on your fabric choices and cut out the collar. So I chose this blue floral print for the collar itself, and then white cotton for the frilly bits and the tie. Cut the collar out twice on the fold, and then for the frilly bits, take some of the white cotton and cut strips of it about 8 centimeters wide. I just ripped the fabric by cutting it at the top and then ripping it down so that it was quicker and also means the fabric doesn't swerve off the grain. You'll need about 3 meters of the white strips in total, so if your fabric isn't this length, just sew the strips together before going on to the next step. Take the strips over to the iron and then fold them in half, ironing them so that the raw edges are on one side and then there's a clean edge on the other side. Then go back to the white fabric and cut out 1.5 meters worth of bias strips, which are 5 centimeters wide. To do this, fold the fabric corner over at a right angle, draw on your lines with a heat erasable pen or chalk and then cut down. Then iron the strips inwards on themselves and then completely fold them over like I'm showing you here. Now for the fun part, because so far this collar has been kind of dull. Go to your sewing machine with the wide strips for the frills and begin sewing little box pleats in them. You can pin beforehand, but I just like to eyeball it by pushing the fabric one way and then the other and letting the sewing machine do all the hard work. Now lay your collar pieces right sides together and take your frill and wedge it in between those layers. Neatly pin it all the way around with the raw edge matching the edges of the collar piece. Then sew around the outer curved edge where you pinned, securing all 3 layers. Make sure to take your time with this bit and lift the foot of your sewing machine up to pivot around the corners if you need to. Then cut round the corners into the seam allowance, as this is going to make the collar lay flat when you turn it the right way around. Next, turn the entire thing around and iron it before taking one of the long bias strips and using it both as a tie around your neck and as a way to cover up the raw edge. Sew that on using an edge footer if you have one.